Canterbury/ʻkæntərb unregistered trademark RB, unregistered trademark RE, / is an historic English cathedral city and UNESCO World Heritage Site, which lies at the heart of the City of Canterbury, a local government district of Kent in southeast England. It lies on the River Stour. Originally a Brythonic settlement called Dyrrhaeonon, it was renamed Dyrrhaeonum Cantiacorum by the Roman conquerors in the 1st century AD. After it became the chief Jutish settlement, it gained its English name Canterbury, itself derived from the Old English ଼kæntərb. After the Kingdom of Kent's conversion to Christianity in 597, St. Augustine founded an episcopal see in the city and became the first Archbishop of Canterbury, a position that now heads the Church of England and the worldwide Anglican Communion. Thomas Becket's murder at Canterbury Cathedral in 1170 led to the cathedral becoming a place of pilgrimage for Christians worldwide. This pilgrimage provided the theme for Geoffrey Chaucer's 14th-century literary classic The Canterbury Tales. The literary heritage continued with the birth of the playwright Christopher Marlowe in the city in the 16th century. Many historical structures remain, including a city wall founded in Roman times and rebuilt in the 14th century, the ruins of St. Augustine's Abbey and a Norman castle, and perhaps the oldest school in England, the King's School. Modern additions include the University of Kent, Canterbury Christ Church University, the University College for the Creative Arts, the American University, Canterbury, the Marlowe Theatre, and the St. Lawrence Ground, home to Kent County Cricket Club. Canterbury is a popular tourist destination, consistently one of the most visited cities in the United Kingdom. The city's economy is heavily reliant upon tourism. There is also a substantial student population, brought about by the presence of 4 universities. Canterbury is, however, a relatively small city, when compared with other British cities. History of Canterbury redirects here. For the history of the regional area of this name in New Zealand, see History of the Canterbury region. Early history. The Canterbury area has been inhabited since prehistoric times. Lower Paleolithic axes, and Neolithic and Bronze Age pots have been found in the area. Canterbury was first recorded as the main settlement of the Celtic tribe, the ʻkæntərb, which inhabited most of modern-day Kent. In the 1st century AD, the Romans captured the settlement, and named it Dyrrhaeonum Cantiacorum, meaning stronghold of the ʻkæntərb by the Alder Grove. The Romans rebuilt the city, with new streets in a grid pattern, a theatre, a temple, a forum and public baths. In the late 3rd century, to defend against attack from barbarians, the Romans built around the city an earth bank and a wall with 7 gates, which enclosed an area of 130 acres. After the Romans left Britain in 410 AD, Dyrrhaeonum Cantiacorum was abandoned, apart from a few farmers, and gradually decayed. Over the next 100 years, an Anglo-Saxon community formed within the city walls, as Jutish refugees arrived, possibly intermarrying with the locals. The Jutes named the city ʻkæntərb, meaning Kent people's stronghold. In 597 AD, Pope Gregory the Great sent Augustine to convert King Attribution of Kent to Christianity. After the conversion, Canterbury, as a Roman town, was chosen by Augustine as the centre for an episcopal see in Kent, and an abbey and cathedral were built. Augustine thus became the first Archbishop of Canterbury. The town's new importance led to its revival, and trades developed in pottery, textiles and leather. By 630, gold coins were being struck at the Canterbury Mint. In 672 the Synod of Hertford gave the See of Canterbury authority over the entire English Church. In 842 and 851, Canterbury suffered great loss of life during Danish raids. In 978, Archbishop Dunstan refounded the abbey built by Augustine, and named it St. Augustine's Abbey. A second wave of Danish attacks began in 991. And in 1011 the cathedral was burnt and Archbishop Ælfric was killed in 1012. Remembering the destruction caused by Danes, the inhabitants of Canterbury did not resist William the Conqueror's invasion in 1066. William immediately ordered a wooden motte and bailey castle to be built by the Roman city wall. In the early 12th century, the castle was rebuilt with stone. After the murder of Archbishop Thomas Becket at the cathedral in 1170, Canterbury became one of the most notable towns in Europe, as pilgrims from all parts of Christendom came to visit his shrine. This pilgrimage provided the framework for Geoffrey Chaucer's 14th-century collection of stories, the Canterbury Tales. Canterbury is associated with several saints from this period who lived in Canterbury: St. Augustine of Canterbury, St. Anselm of Canterbury, St. Thomas Becket, St. Mellitus, St. Theodore of Tarsus, St. Dunstan, St. Adrian of Canterbury, St. Alphege, Saint of the Beat of Kent, 14th–17th centuries. The Black Death hit Canterbury in 1348. At 10,000, Canterbury had the 10th largest population in England. By the early 16th century, the population had fallen to 3,000. In 1363, during the 100 Years' War, a commission of inquiry found that disrepair, stone robbing and ditch filling had led to the Roman wall becoming eroded. Between 1378 and 1402, the wall was virtually rebuilt, and new wall towers were added. In 1381, during the Peasants' Revolt, the castle and Archbishop's Palace were sacked, and Archbishop Sudbury was beheaded in London. Sudbury is still remembered annually by the Christmas mayoral procession to his tomb at Canterbury Cathedral. In 1413 Henry IV became the only sovereign to be buried at the cathedral. In 1448 Canterbury was granted a city charter, which gave it a mayor and a high sheriff. The city still has a Lord Mayor and Sheriff. In 1504 the cathedral's main tower, the Bell Harry Tower, was completed, ending 400 years of building. During the dissolution of the monasteries, the city's priory, nunnery and 3 friaries were closed. St. Augustine's Abbey, the 14th richest in England at the time, was surrendered to the Crown, and its church and cloister were levelled. The rest of the abbey was dismantled over the next 15 years, although part of the site was converted to a palace. Thomas Becket's shrine in the cathedral was demolished and all the gold, silver and jewels were removed to the Tower of London, and Becket's images, name and feasts were obliterated throughout the kingdom, ending the pilgrimages. By the 17th century, Canterbury's population was 5,000. Of whom 2,000 were French-speaking Protestant Huguenots, who had begun fleeing persecution and war in the Spanish Netherlands in the mid-16th century. The Huguenots introduced silk weaving into the city, which by 1676 had outstripped wool weaving. In 1620 Robert Cushman negotiated the lease of the Mayflower at 59 Palace Street for the purpose of transporting the Pilgrims to America. In 1647, during the English Civil War, riots broke out when Canterbury's Puritan mayor banned church services on Christmas Day. The rioters' trial the following year led to a Kent revolt against the parliamentarian forces, contributing to the start of the second phase of the war. However, Canterbury surrendered peacefully to the parliamentarians after their victory at the Battle of Maidstone. 18th century Euro-present. The city's first newspaper, the Kentish Post, was founded in 1717. It merged with a newly founded Kentish Gazette in 1768. By 1770, the castle had fallen into disrepair, and many parts of it were demolished during the late 18th century and early 19th century. In 1787 all the gates in the city wall, except for Westgate the city jail were demolished as a result of a commission that found them impeding to new coach travel. By 1820 the city's silk industry had been killed by imported Indian muslins. The Canterbury and Whitstable Railway, the world's first passenger railway, was opened in 1830. Between 1830 and 1900, the city's population grew from 15,000 to 24,000. Canterbury Prison was opened in 1808 just outside the city boundary. During the First World War, a number of barracks and voluntary hospitals were set up around the city, and in 1917 a German bomber crash-landed near Broad Oak Road. During the Second World War, 10,445 bombs dropped during 135 separate raids destroyed 731 homes and 296 other buildings in the city, including the Simon Langton Grammar Schools, and 115 people were killed. The most devastating raid was on June 1, 1942 during the Baedeker Blitz. Before the end of the war, architect Charles Holden drew up plans to redevelop the city centre, but locals were so opposed that the Citizens Defence Association was formed and swept to power in the 1945 municipal elections. Rebuilding of the city centre eventually began 10 years after the war. A ring road was constructed in stages outside the city walls sometime afterwards to alleviate growing traffic problems in the city centre, which was later pedestrianised. The biggest expansion of the city occurred in the 1960s, with the arrival of the University of Kent at Canterbury and Christ Church College. The 1980s saw visits from Pope John Paul II and Queen Elizabeth II, and the beginning of the annual Canterbury Festival. Canterbury received its own radio station in CTFM, now KMFM Canterbury, in 1997. Between 1999 and 2005, the Whitefriars Shopping Centre underwent major redevelopment. In 2000, during the redevelopment, a major archaeological project was undertaken by the Canterbury Archaeological Trust, known as the Big Dig, which was supported by Channel 4's Time Team. Another famous visitor was Mahatma Gandhi, who came to the city in October 1931. He met Hewlett Johnson, then Dean of Canterbury. Governance: since 1987, the Member of Parliament for the Canterbury constituency, which includes Whitstable, has been the Conservative Julian Brazier. At the 2005 general election, the Conservatives won a majority of 7,471 and 44.4% of the vote in the Canterbury constituency. Labour won 28.7% of the vote, Liberal Democrats 21.1%, the Green Party 3.2%, United Kingdom Independence Party 1.9%, and the Legalised Cannabis Alliance 0.7%. Canterbury, along with Whitstable and Herne Bay, is in the City of Canterbury local government district. The city's urban area consists of the 6 electoral wards of Barton, Harbledown, Northgate, St Stephen's, Westgate, and Wincheap. These wards have 11 of the 50 seats on the Canterbury City Council. 6 of these seats are held by the Liberal Democrats, 4 by the Conservatives and 1 by Labour. The city became a county corporate in 1461, and later a county borough under the Local Government Act 1888. In 1974 it lost its status as the smallest county borough in England, after the Local Government Act 1972, and came under the control of Kent County Council. Geography: Canterbury is located at 51°16 euro squared 30 euro cubed n1 euro squared 13 euro cubed in East Kent, about 55 miles east-southeast of London. The coastal towns of Herne Bay and Whitstable are 6 miles to the north, and Faversham is 8 miles to the northwest. Nearby villages include Rough Common, Sturry and Tyler Hill. The civil parish of Thainington Without is to the southwest. The rest of the city is unparished. Harbledown, Wincheap and Hales Place are suburbs of the city. The city is on the River Stour or Great Stour, flowing from its source at Lenham northeast through Ashford to the English Channel at Sandwich. The river divides southeast of the city, one branch flowing through the city, the other around the position of the former walls. The 2 branches rejoin or are linked several times, but finally recombine around the town of Fordwich, on the edge of the marshland northeast of the city. The Stour is navigable on the tidal section to Fordwich, although above this point canoes and other small craft can be used. Punts and Road River boats are available for hire in Canterbury. The geology of the area consists mainly of brecciated overlying chalk. Tertiary sands overlain by London clay form St Thomas's Hill and St Stephen's Hill about a mile northwest of the city centre. Demography: at the 2001 UK census, the total population of the city's urban area wards was 43,432. Residents of the city had an average age of 37.1 years, younger than the 40.2 average of the district and the 38.6 average for England. Of the 17,536 households, 35% were one-person households, 39% were couples, 10% were lone parents, and 15% other. Of those aged 16 euro 74 in the city, 27% had a higher education qualification, higher than the 20% national average. Compared with the rest of England, the city had an above-average proportion of foreign-born residents, at around 12%. 95% of residents were recorded as white. The largest minority group was recorded as Asian, at 1.8% of the population. Religion was recorded as 68.2% Christian, 1.1% Muslim, 0.5% Buddhist, 0.8% Hindu, 0.2% Jewish, and 0.1% Sikh. The rest either had no religion, an alternative religion, or did not state their religion. Economy. Canterbury district retains approximately 4,761 businesses, up to 60,000 full and part-time employees, and was worth a £1.3 billion in 2001. This makes the district the second largest economy in Kent. Unemployment in the city has dropped significantly since 2001 owing to the opening of the Whitefriars shopping complex, which introduced thousands of job opportunities. In April 2008, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Rowan Williams, controversially made a strong speech arguing that salary caps should be implemented to curb the pay of the rich in an attempt to manage the growth of the economy. The city's economy benefits mainly from significant economic projects such as the Canterbury Enterprise Hub, Larkers View International Business Park, and the Whitefriars retail development. Tourism contributes £258 million to the Canterbury economy and has been a cornerstone of the local economy for a number of years. Canterbury Cathedral alone generates over 1 million visitors a year. Canterbury has a high per capita GDP. It is higher than the Kent average of $42,500 at $51,900, making it one of the wealthiest towns in the southeast. The registered unemployment rate as of September 2011 stands at 5.7%. Culture, landmarks. Canterbury Cathedral is the mother church of the Anglican Communion and seat of the Archbishop of Canterbury. Founded in 597 AD by Augustine, it forms a World Heritage Site, along with the Saxon St. Martin's Church and the ruins of St. Augustine's Abbey. With 1 million visitors per year, it is one of the most visited places in the country. Services are held at the cathedral 3 or more times a day. The Roman Museum houses an in-situ mosaic pavement dating from around 300 CE. Surviving structures from the Roman times include Quainin Gate, a blocked gate in the city wall, and the Dane John Mound, once part of a Roman cemetery. The Dane John Gardens were built beside of the mound in the 18th century, and a memorial was placed on the mound summit. A windmill was on the mound between 1731 and 1839. The ruins of the Norman Canterbury Castle and St. Augustine's Abbey are both open to the public. The medieval St. Margaret's Church now houses the Canterbury Tales, in which life-sized character models reconstruct Geoffrey Chaucer's stories. The West Gate is now a museum relating to its history as a jail. The medieval Church of St. Alphege became redundant in 1982 but had a new lease of life as the Canterbury Urban Studies Centre, later renamed the Canterbury Environment Centre. The building is used by the King's School. The Old Synagogue at Canterbury, now the King's School Music Room, is one of only 2 Egyptian Revival synagogues still standing. The city centre contains many timber-framed 16th and 17th century houses, however there are far fewer than there were before the Second World War, as many were damaged during the Baedeker Blitz. Many are still standing, including the old weaver's house used by the Huguenots. St. Martin's Mill is the only surviving mill out of the 6 known to have stood in Canterbury. It was built in 1817 and worked until 1890. It is now a house conversion. The Museum of Canterbury houses many exhibits, with one of them being the Rupert Bear Museum. The Herne Bay Times has reported that the Heritage at Risk Register includes 19 listed buildings in Canterbury which need urgent repair but for which the council has insufficient funds. Theatres. The city's theatre and concert hall is the Marlow Theatre, named after Christopher Marlowe, who was born in the city in Elizabethan times. He was baptised in the city's St. George's Church, which was destroyed during the Second World War. The old Marlow Theatre was located in St. Margaret's Street and housed a repertory theatre. The Gulbenkian Theatre, at the University of Kent, also serves the city, housing also a cinema and cafe. Copyright. The Marlow Theatre has now been completely rebuilt, fully opening in October 2011. Besides the two theatres, theatrical performances take place at several areas of the city, for instance the Cathedral and St Augustine's Abbey. The premiere of Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot took place at Canterbury Cathedral. The oldest surviving Tudor theatre in Canterbury is now the Shakespeare, formerly known as Cases. There are several theatre groups based in Canterbury, including the University of Kent Students' Union's T24 Drama Society, the Canterbury Players and Kent Youth Theatre. The Marlow Theatre. The redeveloped Marlow Theatre is the largest theatre in the region, offering touring productions and concerts. The programme includes musicals, drama, ballet, contemporary dance, classical orchestras, opera, children's shows, pantomime, stand-up comedy and concerts. There is also a second performance space called the Marlow Studio, dedicated to creative activity and the programming of new work. The Marlow Theatre can be seen from many points throughout the city centre, considering it is the only modern and tall structure. Music. The cathedral, medieval, polyphonic music written for the monks of Christ Church Priory survives from the 13th century. The cathedral may have had an organ as early as the 12th century, though the names of organists are only recorded from the early 15th century. One of the earliest named composers associated with Canterbury Cathedral was Lionel Power, who was appointed master of the New Lady Chapel Choir formed in 1438. Post-Reformation, the Reformation brought a period of decline in the cathedral's music which was revived under Dean Thomas Neville in the early 17th century. Neville introduced instrumentalists into the cathedral's music who played cornet and sackbut, probably members of the city's Band of Waits. The cathedral acquired sets of recorders, lutes and viols for the use of the choir boys and lay clerks. The city, early modern, as was common in English cities in the Middle Ages, Canterbury employed a town band known as the Waits. There are records of payments to the Waits starting from 1402, though they probably existed earlier than this. The Waits were disbanded by the city authorities in 1641 for misdemeanors but were reinstated in 1660 when they played for the visit of King Charles II on his return from exile. Waits were eventually abolished nationally by the Municipal Corporations Act of 1835. A modern early music group called the Canterbury Waits has revived the name. The Canterbury Catch Club was a musical and social club which met in the city between 1779 and 1865. The club met weekly in the winter. It employed an orchestra to assist in performances in the first half of the evening. After the interval, the members sang catches and glees from the club's extensive music library. Contemporary. The city gave its name to a musical genre known as the Canterbury Sound or Canterbury Scene, a group of progressive rock, avant-garde and jazz musicians established within the city during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Some very notable Canterbury bands were Soft Machine, Caravan, Matching Mole, Egg, Hatfield and the North, National Health, Gilgamesh, Soft Heap, Khan, Camel and in Cahoots. Over the years, with band membership changes and new bands evolving, the term has been used to describe a musical style or subgenre, rather than a regional group of musicians. During the 1970s-80s the Canterbury Odeon, now the site of the new Marlow, played host to many of the punk and new wave bands of the era. These included, The Clash, The Ramones, Blondie, Sham 69, Magazine, XTC, Dr. Feelgood, Elvis Costello and The Attractions, The Stranglers. The University of Kent has hosted concerts by bands including Led Zeppelin and The Who. During the late 70s and early 80s the Canterbury Odeon hosted a number of major acts, including The Cure and Joy Division. The Marlow Theatre is also used for many musical performances, such as Don McLean in 2007, and Fairport Convention in 2008. A regular music and dance venue is the Westgate Hall. The Canterbury Choral Society gives regular concerts in Canterbury Cathedral, specialising in the large-scale choral works of the classical repertory. The Canterbury Orchestra, founded in 1953, is a thriving group of enthusiastic players who regularly tackle major works from the symphonic repertoire. Other musical groups include the Canterbury Singers, Cantemus, and the City of Canterbury Chamber Choir. The University of Kent has a symphony orchestra, a university choir, a chamber choir, and a university concert band and big band. The Canterbury Festival takes place over 2 weeks in October each year in Canterbury and the surrounding towns. It includes a wide range of musical events ranging from opera and symphony concerts to world music, jazz, folk, etc., with a festival club, a fringe, and umbrella events. Canterbury also hosts the annual Lounge on the Farm Festival in July, which mainly sees performances from rock, indie and dance artists. The reggae ska musician Judge Dredd played his last gig at the Penny Theatre. His final words were "Let's hear it for the band." He then went off stage, suffered a major heart attack and died, despite help from both ambulance crews and the audience. Composers with an association with Canterbury include, Thomas Tallis, became a lay clerk at Canterbury Cathedral c. 1540 and was subsequently appointed a gentleman of the Chapel Royal in 1543. John Ward, born in Canterbury, a chorister at Canterbury Cathedral, composed madrigals, works for viol consort, services, and anthems. Orlando Gibbons, organist, composer, and gentleman of the Chapel Royal, who died in Canterbury and was buried in the cathedral. William Flackton, born in Canterbury, a chorister at Canterbury Cathedral, was an organist, viola player and composer. John Marsh, lawyer, amateur composer and concert organizer, wrote 2 symphonies for the Canterbury Orchestra before moving to Chichester in 1784. Thomas Clark, shoemaker and organist at the Methodist Church in Canterbury, composer of West Gallery hymns and psalm tunes. Sir George Joe Belvey, organist and composer, was born in Canterbury and trained as a chorister at the cathedral. Alan Ridout, educator and broadcaster, composer of church, orchestral and chamber music. Sir Peter Maxwell Davis was appointed an honorary fellow of Canterbury Christ Church University at a ceremony in Canterbury Cathedral. Many Canterbury Cathedral organists composed services, anthems, hymns, etc. Sport. St Lawrence Ground is notable as one of the 2 grounds used regularly for first-class cricket that have a tree within the boundary. It is the home ground of Kent County Cricket Club and has hosted several one-day internationals, including one England match during the 1999 Cricket World Cup. Canterbury City FC reformed in 2007 as a community interest company and currently compete in the Southern Counties East Football League. The previous incarnation of the club folded in 2001. Canterbury RFC were founded in 1926 and became the first East Kent club to achieve National League status and currently play in the 4th tier, National League 2 South. The Tour de France has visited the city twice. In 1994 the tour passed through, and in 2007 it held the finish for Stage 1. Canterbury Hockey Club is one of the largest clubs in the country and both men's First 11 and women's First 11 compete in the England Hockey League. Former Olympic gold medal winner Sean Kelly also a member of the club. Sporting activities for the public are provided at the Kingsmead Leisure Centre, which has a 33-metre swimming pool and a sports hall for football, basketball, and badminton. Transport, railway. Canterbury was the terminus of the Canterbury and Whitstable Railway, which was a pioneer line, opened on May 3, 1830, and finally closed in 1953. Despite claims by the Stockton and Darlington Railway, the Canterbury and Whitstable was the first regular passenger steam railway in the world. The first station in Canterbury was at North Lane. Today, Canterbury has 2 railway stations, Canterbury West and Canterbury East, both operated by South Eastern, the current franchisee for the railways around Canterbury. Canterbury West Station, on the South Eastern Railway from Ashford, was opened on February 6, 1846, and on April 13 the line to Ramsgate was completed. Canterbury West is served by high-speed trains to London St Pancras, slower stopping services to London Charing Cross and London Victoria, as well as by trains to Ramsgate and Margate. Canterbury East, the more central of the two stations, was opened by the London, Chatham and Dover Railway on July 9, 1860. Services from London Victoria stop at Canterbury East and continue to Dover. The station car park is currently being refurbished due to an overload of taxis and not enough parking. Canterbury has previously been served by two other stations. North Lane Station was the southern terminus of the Canterbury and Whitstable Railway between 1830 and 1846. Canterbury South was on the Elm Valley Railway, which opened in 1890 and closed in 1947. A high-speed train service to London St Pancras via Ashford International started on December 13, 2009. The journey time to London has been reduced to 56 minutes. Road. Canterbury is bypassed by the A2 London to Dover Road. It is about 45 miles from the M25 London Orbital motorway, and 61 miles from central London. The other main road through Canterbury is the A28 from Ashford to Ramsgate and Margate. The City Council has invested heavily in park and ride systems around the city's outskirts, and there are 3 sites, at Wincheap, New Dover Road and Starry Road. There are plans to build direct access slip roads to and from the London directions of the A2 where it meets the congested Wincheap to allow more direct access to Canterbury from the A2, but these are currently subject to local discussion. In 2011 a third junction was constructed, linking the A28 to the northbound A2. This leaves just the A2 southbound exit missing, but since this would cut across the park and ride car park and meet the A28 at an already complicated junction, it is not expected to be added in the near term. The hourly National Express 007 coach service to and from Victoria Coach Station, which leaves from main bus station, is typically scheduled to take 2 hours. The coach also serves Bluewater, Dover and Hempstead Valley in Kent as well as towns in London including Lewisham. Eurolines coaches also run from the bus station to London and Paris. Stagecoach in East Kent is the main bus company in Canterbury. Stagecoach South East has its head offices in the city centre's bus station. The company run frequent local routes around the city as well as long-distance services to Ashford for Tenterden, Broadstairs, Deal, Dover, Faversham, Folkestone, Herne Bay, Hythe, Margate, Ramsgate, Sandwich and Whitstable. Stagecoach in East Kent also run the special Omnibus service, with the buses running on 100% biofuel and also has free Wi-Fi, runs from the city centre to the University of Kent every 8 minutes, term time and every 15 minutes at other times. There is also special Unirid fares too. Stagecoach in East Kent also run the high-profile Canterbury Park and Ride, with the buses having free Wi-Fi, from the city centre to the rest of the city and car parks on the approaches to the city every 8 minutes. Education. The city has many students as it is home to 4 universities, together with several other higher education institutions and colleges. At the 2001 census, 22% of the population aged 16 to €74 were full-time students, compared with 7% throughout England. The city is host to 4 universities, the University of Kent, Canterbury Christ Church University, the University College for the Creative Arts and most recently the American University, Canterbury, a branch of GAU, Gurn American University. The University of Kent's main campus is situated over 600 acres on St Stephen's Hill, a mile north of Canterbury city centre. Formerly called the University of Kent at Canterbury, it was founded in 1965, with a smaller campus opened in 2000 in the town of Chatham. As of 2014, it had around 20,000 students. Canterbury Christ Church University was founded as a teacher training college in 1962 by the Church of England. In 1978 its range of courses began to expand into other subjects, and in 1995 it was given the power to become a university college. In 2005 it was granted full university status, and as of 2007 it had around 15,000 students. The University College for the Creative Arts is the oldest higher education institution in the city, having been founded in 1882 by Thomas Sidney Cooper as the Sidney Cooper School of Art. Near the University of Kent is the Franciscan International Study Centre, a place of study for the worldwide Franciscan order. Chaucer College is an independent college for Japanese and other students within the campus of the University of Kent. Canterbury College, formerly Canterbury College of Technology, offers a mixture of vocation, further and higher education courses for school leavers and adults. Independent secondary schools include Kent College, St Edmund's School and, what is the oldest school in England, the King's School. St Augustine established a school shortly after his arrival in Canterbury in 597, and it is from this that the King unregistered trademark school grew. The documented history of the school only began after the dissolution of the monasteries in the 16th century, when the school acquired its present name, referring to Henry VIII. The King's School in Canterbury is one of the top public schools in the United Kingdom, regularly featuring in the top 10 most expensive school fees lists. The city's secondary grammar schools are Barton Court Grammar School, Simon Langton Grammar School for Boys and Simon Langton Girls Grammar School. All of which in 2008 had over 93% of their pupils gain 5 or more GCSEs at grades A to C, including English and Maths. The non-selective state secondary schools are the Canterbury High School, St Anselm's Catholic School, the Church of England's Archbishop School, and Chaucer Technology School. All of which in 2008 had more than 30% of their pupils gain 5 or more GCSEs at grades A to C including English and Maths. Local media, newspapers. Canterbury's first newspaper was the Kentish Post, founded in 1717. It changed its name to the Kentish Gazette in 1768 and is still being published, claiming to be the country's second oldest surviving newspaper. It is currently produced as a paid-for newspaper produced by the KM Group, based in nearby Whitstable. This newspaper covers the East Kent area and has a circulation of about 25,000. 3 free weekly newspapers provide news on the Canterbury district, Your Canterbury, the Canterbury Times and Canterbury Extra. The Canterbury Times is owned by the Daily Mail and General Trust and has a circulation of about 55,000. The Canterbury Extra is owned by the KM Group and also has a circulation of about 55,000. Your Canterbury is published by KOS Media, which also prints the popular county paper Kent on Sunday. It also runs a website http://www.yourcanterbury.co.uk giving daily updated news and events for the city. Radio and television. Canterbury is served by 2 local radio stations, KMFM Canterbury and CSR 97.4 fathoms. KMFM Canterbury broadcasts on 106 fathoms. It was formerly known as KMFM 106, and before the KM Group took control it was known as CTFM, based on the local postcode being CT. Previously based in the city, the station's studios and presenters were moved to Ashford in 2008. CSR 97.4 fathoms, an acronym for Community Student Radio, broadcasts on 97.4 fathoms from studios at both the University of Kent and Canterbury Christ Church University. The station is run by a collaboration of education establishments in the city including the 2 universities. The transmitter is based at the University of Kent, offering a good coverage of the city. CSR replaced 2 existing radio stations, C4 Radio, which served Canterbury Christ Church University, and UKC Radio, which served the University of Kent. There are 2 other stations that cover parts of the city. Canterbury Hospital Radio serves the patients of the Kent and Canterbury Hospital, and Simon Langton Boys School has a radio station, SLBSLIVE, which can only be picked up on the school grounds. The city receives BBC One South East and ITV Meridian from the main transmitter at Dover, and a local relay situated at Chatham. Notable people born in Canterbury include the detective Edmund Reed, Christopher Marlowe, TV presenter Fiona Phillips, actor Thomas James Longley, airline entrepreneur Sir Freddie Laker, voice singer and actor Joseph McManus, comic book artist Jack Lawrence, and actor Orlando Bloom. Mary Turtle, the creator of Rupert Bear, and the Victorian animal painter who taught her, Thomas Sidney Cooper, were both born and lived in the city. The cricketer David Gower, physician William Harvey, actress and singer Ruhan Galieva, Writer W. Somerset Maugham, film director Michael Powell are among the former pupils of the King's School, Canterbury. Notable alumni of the University of Kent include comedian Alan Davis, singer Ellie Goulding, newspaper editor Rosie Boycott, actor Tom Wilkinson, and Booker Prize-winning novelist Kazuo Ishiguro, and Chris Simmons. In November 2012, Rowan Williams was awarded Freedom of the City for his work as Archbishop of Canterbury between 2003 and 2012. International relations. Canterbury is twinned with the following cities: Reims, France, City-to-City Partnership, Esztergom, Hungary, Protocol d'Accord, Saint-Omer, France, since 1995, Wimereux, France, since 1995, Certaldo, Italy, since 1997, Vladimir, Russia, since 1997, Mar Paragraph LNDAL, Sweden, since 1997, Tournai, Belgium, since 1998, see also, Mayors of Canterbury, Sheriff of Canterbury, Mills in Canterbury, University of Kent, Catching Lives, a local charities supporting the homeless and destitute. References. Sources: Lyle, Marjorie. Canterbury, 2000 Years of History. Tempus. ISBN 0-7524-1948-X. Butler, Derek. A Century of Canterbury. Sutton Publishing Limited. ISBN 0-7509-3243-0. Tellem, Geraint. Canterbury and Kent. Gerald Publishing. ISBN 0-7117-2079-7. External links: Canterbury City Council, Canterbury Buildings website, a Archaeological and Heritage Site of Canterbury's buildings. Canterbury Archaeological Trust, a Whitefriars excavations, Time Team, Canterbury Big Dig, UNESCO World Heritage Centre, a World Heritage Profile for Canterbury.